Okay, I'm finally doing the character tier list. I wanted to wait. I wanted to make sure I had a bunch of runs in 1.0 with each character. I wanted to try to use the full extent of all these characters' kits and every talent and stuff and try some builds around with different talents. I feel like I've done that now. I've also done multiple runs on each character in Nightmare and in Nightmare with 5 negative modifiers. So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on each character and how I feel they're performing. When I rank these characters, I kind of have 4 things in mind on how I'm going to rank them. Number 1 is just my personal enjoyment. How much am I currently enjoying this character? How excited am I to play them? Or if I click like random, am I going to be excited or disappointed when it shows up with this character? Second is how good is the character's base kit? Like at level 1 when they have nothing, when they have no talents, say you're getting bad talents at level 2 and 3, how good is that base kit? How much can that base kit carry you through the game? Number 3 is if you got to like pick their kit, if you got to have everything, if you had them at their max potential, how good is that? What can this character do? Can they break the game? Is there just insane things going for them? And then lastly, number 4 is you don't get to do that. You don't get to break the game every single time. What is a character's like 3 main builds? Some characters have more. I like it when characters have more. I think Geppetto has like 5 or 6 different types of builds. Or do they just have like 2 builds? But I'm gonna go off of 3 main builds, and I'll probably show pictures of these when I rank characters at the ends of my game, my 3 favorite builds of each character. But how good are those? Like, what is the ceiling of those? Is one character's like top 3 builds, just all 3 of them completely destroy the game? Or does a character have like a top 3 build that it's like, yeah, they're kind of mediocre. They don't really melt the boss. They don't melt camps. You're still fighting a lot. I'm gonna rank them that way, and I'm gonna go in order. I also have S through D tier. D tier probably won't be used. I can probably get rid of D tier, or I just won't use it. I don't think a character is even C tier, but I'm gonna try to spread it out and give a good range on what I think. C tier might be a little bit of a stretch, but I do want to try to use everything. Quick shout out, thank you SKArt for these build images in this video. Now, starting with Scarlet. Scarlet has sadly fallen to my least favorite character to play, and it's because I feel like I'm kind of forced into 2 different play styles, and I wish there was more. There's her special build with Pyromania, with Pulverize, with Explosive Rush, and then there's her attack build. And her attack build does have like 2 different variations. There's like the Double Strike Fan of Spikes build, and then there's the Wide Attacks Cleave / Flurry or whatever that's called. All of these builds are good, but I just don't get a whole lot of enjoyment out of playing these. Sometimes she feels really slow. I really don't like Wolf form. I like playing Scarlet with Shapeshifter, just staying as Scarlet for the most part. Wolf becomes better late game to me, but especially in higher difficulty, like 5 negative modifiers, Wolf is just such a difficult character to play and doesn't really feel rewarding. It feels like it's super talent dependent to actually make it work. In lower difficulties, Wolf is fine, and Wolf can actually be pretty enjoyable to play. I feel like Scarlet's also just missing a power build. Her power build kind of revolves around getting combo points and using combo points. Take someone for like Aladdin, for example. I talked about this in a video with Febreze. Aladdin has Sword Jin, like Jin's Might, Jin's Fury. You get a bunch of visual changes to what's going on, and you can see that you're going to be doing more damage. You know, Sword Jin, you catch these blades and like swipe. Jin's Fury, you now swipe 3 times, and you're actively doing something intentional to make that happen, and I really like that. Like Melusine, she has a power build where you have Geyser and Aftershock. You can see both things happening, and like Power Dive, you get to add something else. Explosive Rush isn't part of her power to me. Her power build mainly exists on like take Energy, take Murderous Intent, take Adrenaline, take / Flurry, like fill your combo points up fast and then use your power, and it's just not that exciting to me. There is Evisceration, but that's just like chalked on. Like they could have done something unique that combos with something else. I'm not enjoying Scarlet a whole lot right now. She is, one thing I actually didn't mention is part of the rating as well is I'm playing a lot more co-op, and co-op is involved. She is a lot better in co-op, or she has more synergy in co-op with her ultimate. Bite in Wolf form, where you just eat an enemy, is really nice because co-op scaling, enemies have a lot more health, so you can just take care of a big threat right away. And the Ash Cloud is really nice to get revives, to have your team just set up to deal damage. But currently, I'm not really liking Scarlet. Again, I think C tier is a bit harsh. It probably is B tier in my mind. That's just how I'm feeling about her right now. Now, next up is Pied Piper. I feel like Pied Piper has a pretty big variety of builds. You're kind of shoehorned into Freezing Trap in a lot of them, but I still like playing all of his other starting talents. Explosive Rats it definitely needs a buff, but when I think of Piper, I think of Spinning Solo power build that goes insane. I think of his special, there's the Chorus Low Notes build, that's also pretty insane. His special build also has Acoustic Pulses and Grand Finale, which are not better in my mind than Chorus Low Notes, but can still do a lot of damage, do a lot of stagger. just AoE a big group of things, Pied Piper's a really good support in co-op. He actually has really good heals. Perfect Harmony and Leeching Charm are good heals in co-op. Forsando is such a good talent. It can pull enemies together and kind of takes them out of their animation. That's really good in co-op. Pied Piper's biggest downfall is he has a slow early game. Once you learn the game more and you can play to a better understanding of like what camps you should take on and what camps you shouldn't take on, like Pied Piper, make sure you just go fight pig camps like as you start. Don't fight ghoul camps, wait until you have AoE, wait till nighttime. If you start learning that with Pied Piper, he becomes a lot more enjoyable of a character. And then one of the builds, like people meme on rat build, they say rat build isn't that good. I had a stream where I was going for a meme build. I said I'm just going to go for defense like Explosive Blast and Forsando and just try to get a bunch of defense stuff off. I didn't get that to the very end, so it kind of just became a rat build. I did like 1.2 million damage in a run with a Pied Piper rat build, and if you have enough special charges, you can cycle your rats. If you have stimulant vibes in a boss fight, you can have your rats attacking the boss the entire boss fight. I think Pied Piper is very good right now. He's one of my favorite characters to play. He has just some busted talents like chorus, low notes, stimulant vibes is really good. Spinning solo is amazing. Spinning solo can stack with other power talents like extra measure and quintuplets. Baylor's Eye with Music of the Spheres is really good. I think Pied Piper is a S tier. A lot of people might disagree with this, but I think the more you play and the more you get used to Pied Piper, you'll see that he's an S tier, and it makes sense when like in every stream run with viewers, there's almost always a Pied Piper in the group. Now moving on to Beowulf. Beowulf has one of the most beginner friendly kits. I feel like Beowulf also has a very good level 1 kit. The shield just to block damage and to heal up. He's like one of the few characters, I think he's the only character that has healing always in his kit. No, I guess Wukong does as well, and Carmilla. He has guaranteed healing. If you need healing, you know, you can just play into that. He has the iframe on special, which is really nice. It can keep you in a fight longer, you know, just time your special with an attack, and that way you can keep on grouping up enemies together. Beowulf is similar to Scarlet. My enjoyment of playing Beowulf has dropped because I feel like Beowulf has different builds, but a lot of them don't feel great. The ceiling of them, like how much damage they can do, is pretty low. Beowulf's a hard character to get boss melts on, especially the chapter 1 boss. You're normally doing a 2 to 3 phase. There's very few times where you're doing a 1 phase, unless you have like Sparkling Shield. What really helped Beowulf, I'm telling you right now, Beowulf would be in C tier for me, just from enjoyment wise and build variety. But the level 10 upgrade Fireball, if you take the Raging Chain ultimate, his dash build was already good, was one of his better builds with Fiery Slash. It's tough to say, but it might be one of the best dash builds in the game right now. You have a ranged attack and a melee attack on your dash. The Fireball does a lot of stagger damage. It is the most fun way to play Beowulf. Other Beowulf builds that I actually like are Explosive Fire. Explosive Fire is cool. It's cool in co-op as well. There's a lot of camps that you could mitigate that could be normally challenging with all these little enemies like bird camps, like ghoul camps with Explosive Fire. I really like the secondary Tremors power build. That with Baylor's Eye goes insane. There's some Beowulf builds I like, but I only want to play those 2 Beowulf builds. I only want to play secondary Tremors, and I only want to play Fiery Slash Fireball. And for that reason, I put Beowulf in B tier. He's not a bad character, he's beginner friendly, but his ceiling is just a lot lower than most of the other characters in how much he can do, in my mind. So next up is Snow Queen. Snow Queen is one as well, sadly, and it might just be because he's the characters that have been around the longest. I'm not enjoying Snow Queen as much. I will admit Snow Queen has a lot stronger builds in my mind than both of these two. Maybe not a stronger build than Fireball. Fireball is kind of insane. Snow Queen's builds in my mind are her power build, where you just slam a bunch of powers and have the snowballs, have Frost Surge, and have Hailstorm. She has like an Ice Clone spam build. She has her Dual Lances attack build, which is still really good. Past that, she kind of has like a dash build. It's weird because Slide scales off your defense, which doesn't scale with anything except your flat damage, but she can abuse that. I don't know, there's not too many builds that really excite me with Snow Queen, and I think that's the issue. I've done the Dual Lances build enough times, and I've done the power build enough times that I'm struggling to find other things. I did a 5 negative modifier run with her focusing a special build, and wow, that is a drag. That is very slow to play. AoE wise, she is really good. I think she is really good in co-op as well. Take Frost Queen. There's a lot of characters that can benefit from you taking Frost Queen and having all the enemies even slower. Like Pied Piper can benefit from that. Carmilla really benefits from that. Melusine can benefit from that. So I think she's good and has a lot of utility. She has one really good ultimate. The Snowstorm one is really nice, especially in co-op as well. I think she's A tier. Like what she can do, I think she's potentially A tier. but how I'm feeling right now with her is B tier. Aside from the snowball build, where you're just slamming a bunch of these snowballs and making the boss vulnerable with Rupture as well, I don't think she has a lot of good boss damaging builds. I think she kind of struggles in bosses in solo play. She's not bad. She's not bad at all. I think my enjoyment of her is just kind of dropped a bit, so I'm putting her in B tier. So Aladdin, this is my boy. This is me. This is my favorite character to play almost in video games. Just I love playing this character so much. This character like puts me in a flow state when I have a full build going, where I just kind of blank out and I play the game and then I realize what I was doing and I'm like, oh my god, that was so fun. Aladdin has some of the best talents in the game in my mind, like some game breaking potentially. Jinia's gift I don't think is game breaking, but I love Jinia's gift, upgrading that early and having Sands of Oblivion. Whatever build you want to do you want to do a power build, do you want to do an aerial catch build? Aladdin only has 3 starting talents, does not have a 4th. He has Jinia's gift, Jin's Might, and aerial catch. If you want to do one of those, start with Jinia's gift, have Sands of Oblivion in your shop, hopefully get some talents at higher rarities so you can save yourself some money, and then Sands of Oblivion into the build that you want. I love that with him. I don't think that should be nerfed. That's just a cool thing to do in the game. And you're also not guaranteed higher rarities. He has Master Thief, which is potentially the most broken talent in the game. Don't nerf. I mean, maybe nerf. I don't know. But Master Thief is so fun to play. Like the rush you get when you complete these stacks. You can complete. I've completed 3 common stacks, 3 rare stacks with Master Thief in a run. I did a 5 negative modifier run that had Master Thief at level 2, and I ended up with a full set of fairy dust and a full set of green armor, and I had 483 armor with fairy dust. My health was never touched in a 5 negative modifier run. Like, they could not break my shield. He's insane. He can scale so easily. Even if you're not going Master Thief and stuff, he has some amazing talents. His power build is probably the single highest like burst damage build in the game if you get it set up. Jin's Might, Jin's Fury, Enchanted Jin, and Sword Jin. If you can line that up and hit the target while they're vulnerable, that's how I got my Baba Yaga one-shot. I feel like other characters can do a Baba Yaga one-shot. I feel like he has the most accessibility to it. His ultimate Dream Wish is really, really good, especially in co-op where you can spread it to your entire team. He basically makes the things that are currently good in the game better. He makes Leprechaun Coin better. He makes Hope Diamond better. He has Leaping Strikes, which in my mind is one of the best level 2 talents in the game. It does so much damage right away. I think the only area where Aladdin falls in my mind is he has a power build and then he has attack builds. He has variations of attack builds. Now, I have done a 5 negative modifier special build with Aladdin where it was like a Baylor's Eye with Sand Vortex and Dancing Blades, and it's very comical. It's not really a build though, so you kind of just have power build or 2 different attack builds, and I feel like that's, I want to see more there. There's talents like Dream Scimitars, take that out of the game, give us a new talent that can synergize with other things, and I love this character even more. But I'm putting this character at S tier, and I'm putting him in front of Pied Piper. I think I'm not putting him in front of Pied Piper. Pied Piper he's busted, but in solo play, what I feel like I can do with Aladdin is a lot stronger than what I could do with Pied Piper, even though they're pretty close. Okay, next up is Melusine. I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anyone. I think Melusine is S tier. I potentially don't think that she is the strongest character in the game. Like, I don't know if she's stronger than these two. She might be, but I think she's the most consistently good character. Reason being, here, let's look at her starting talents. She has 1 that stands above the rest, which is Sea Dance, because it heals you and it gives you more opportunities to get your attacks off. She has to be stationary when she attacks, and a lot of times you'll set yourself up to attack and you won't be able to get that many attacks off because, oh, an enemy's about to throw a rock at you or something. Sea Dance lets you get around that and lets you get more attacks off, so it's like it's the choice almost every single time. Spring Water was nerfed quite a bit before when Spring Water healed more. I think it was a lot better. Bewitching Song is good, but it's just not as good as healing in my mind. Like, Weak is a really, really good debuff on enemies, but it's a thing that's not as noticeable to your brain as, hey, I see the visual heal that I get from Sea Dance. And Deep Beat, I actually did the 5 negative modifier challenge on Deep Beat. I used to hate Deep Beat. I still wish Deep Beat wasn't a starting talent so you can pair it with Sea Dance, but it's a lot better than I give it credit for. If you can actually get waterlogging and submerging attacks and backwash, Deep Beat becomes pretty strong. But the other thing with Melusine is that she just has really, really good builds for pretty much everything. In my mind, she has 2 different attack builds, the Deep Beat build, and then the Razortail waterlogging. You still probably take the same, like Razortail and waterlogging in the Deep Beat build, but Razortail and waterlogging is its own unique build in my mind. And then she has a really good power build. She has an amazing power build because she has power dive, where you can scale your power with your defense as well. Her special build as well does that really well, like with backwash and water communion and tidal wave. You can have this huge special that just goes through and clears enemies. She's also known as the healer because she has stuff like soothing presence and then sea dance as well, so she can heal the team more efficiently than most other characters. She's just like consistently good. If you're playing co-op, it's always good to have a Melusine in your group. It's always good to have a Pied Piper in your group. I think like these two always being here. It's almost always good to have an Aladdin in your group if they're going Dream Wish. I think, again, my rating isn't just based off co-op, but in co-op, there's reasons why these characters are so good. And a lot of those reasons translate to solo play as well. I don't know if she melts as quickly as Pied Piper and Aladdin can in certain bosses and certain fights, but I just think she's consistently one of the best characters every time you play her. Now moving on to Geppetto. Geppetto has a lot of really good builds, and I feel like Geppetto has the biggest build diversity in my mind. He has power build with flux capacitor and magnetic hammers. You can add vacuum capsule in there. He has attack builds where you make your dummies just do a lot of attacks with oiled mechanisms, family meeting, sharp noses. Attack build where you go clockwork medicine and fireworks, and you just have your dummies shoot out a bunch of fireworks. There's rocket science, which deviates away from your dummies, but you can build into them with like sharp noses and pogo hoppers and just let them do their own thing as you build into dash. Then there's unstable cores, which is one of the most unique ways to play the game. It's like completely focused on dummy management. His other builds are like that, but it's so focused on dummy management and keeping them alive, and I love that playstyle. Weirdly enough, Geppetto has some of the quickest boss melts in the game. If you get sharp noses and two mecha puppets maybe, like sharp noses and bonus attack speed goes insane. You just obliterate bosses. Similar to Pied Piper with the rat build, you can potentially just have damage up on bosses at all times if your dummies are able to live hits from the bosses, or you can keep them alive. Decent in co-op, he does trigger enemy attacks a lot more often, so if you're playing with a Geppetto in co-op, you have to be aware of where their dummies are as well, so you don't walk into attack as an enemy's attacking the dummy. Geppetto gets off revives very easily as well. You can set up dummies if you're playing twin dummies or dummy ball, like set up a dummy and throw a dummy and then go get a revive. The area in my mind where Geppetto is held back is a lot of his builds are pretty slow. The rocket science build is potentially one of the quicker ones, but explosive cores can be really slow. The attack build with oiled mechanisms is incredibly slow because a lot of enemies back up and now your dummies aren't hitting them. His flux capacitor magnetic hammer makes him a lot quicker, and honestly might be some of the hardest hitting stuff in the game if you have 4 dummies up when you're doing it. I feel like Geppetto's has one of the harder playstyles to get used to as well, because there's so much you have to be doing on your end with managing your dummies, but simultaneously, depending on how you're playing them, there's also a lot that you don't have to be doing. Sometimes you can just set and forget if the dummies have enough stuff going for them. I feel like one of his downfalls is he only has the iframe on defense, which is a 12-second cooldown. I really like Geppetto. He also has Flash of Genius, which again, I'm not just putting him in A tier based off Flash of Genius, but you can get insane pulls from Flash of Genius and have like, if you get that as your level 2 talent and upgrade it right away, you might have one of the best starts to your game if you get something like Hope Diamond, Hungry Grass, you know, Philosopher's Stone, something just early like that. Yeah, I really like playing this character. I think he's really strong. He has some of the highest win rates in the game right now, and I think there's a reason for that. Okay, next up, Wukong. Wukong is, if you're good with Wukong, Wukong's probably the strongest character in the game. Wukong has a big variety of builds as well. I like Wukong's build variety. It's tough to not play Stone Monkey every time. Stone Monkey is so good, especially in 5 negative modifiers. Stone Monkey becomes even better. Wukong completely counters Baba Yaga. If you fight Baba Yaga, there's pretty much no hit you should ever be hit by. I understand that other bosses, if you're good at parrying, you know, he kind of counters them as well, but I think he just completely counters Baba Yaga. That fight is not hard when you play Wukong. The tough thing about Wukong, again, is just you have the one form where you deal more damage, but you take more damage. Once you get used to that, and especially if you're playing in like regular Nightmare and not 5 negative modifiers, I think Wukong has a lot of builds going for him. I think he has a pretty weak level 1. Similar to Pied Piper, there's a lot of camps that I don't want to take on as Wukong early because his AoE is not that great. He has the beats, they just don't do a lot of damage until you start getting certain things to work for them. His power build also completely melts everything in the game. I got the one shot on Aladdin, very easily can do it on Wukong as well, go into his power build. His lightning strikes on Thundercloud go through armor. He has things as well like Fiery Golden Eyes. He can make the most amount of money in the game, I think, with Fiery Golden Eyes, Golden Egg complete, and Hope Diamond. so he is kind of insane for making money. And then I just like some of his other builds that aren't as strong. I really like the playstyle, like Wave Awakening, playing into that with all the talents that synergize with that is really fun. Thirst for Immortality, being like a huge Ogre Blood candidate, is really, really fun. And Supreme Polarity is not as exciting, it's just like more of what he already does, but building into that and switching your stances like super often. He's a very, very unique and fun playstyle. I think Wukong's really strong though. I think he's really strong. He's probably S tier for a lot of people that are really good with Wukong. I think I'm decent with Wukong. I don't think I'm amazing at Wukong, so I'm gonna keep him an A for me, but I think the things you can do with Wukong, I think a lot of speedrunners use Wukong for a reason, so I think he's definitely up here. Now, Carmilla, this is a hot topic because I know a lot of people are not liking her. I constantly see in the Discord people trashing on Carmilla, saying she's not good, saying you can't do things that you can do with other characters with her. I completely disagree. I think she has a very, very good level 1 kit. I have a lot more resource management and positioning that you need to know than other characters, so you need to know enemy attack patterns, you need to know how to be able to trigger enemy attacks and set yourself up. Build enough blood and use her power, you can clear any single camp in one power use. She's amazing in that regard. Yeah, again, best level 1. She has 2 things that I don't like about her. One, you're pretty dependent on blood generation for a lot of builds, so if you don't have special charges or special cooldown, it can feel pretty bad. The other thing is she has a lot of talents that I don't want until I have the rest of my talents set up. And she has a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of talents that I don't want to take until level 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you are getting those at your level 2, 3, 4, then she's going to play pretty slow. There's a lot of talents that you want to see early that just help your damage early. And then there's the talents that support the ones that are helping your damage that you want to get later. So I think that's like one of her downfalls, but I think she has, in my mind, 4 main builds, and all 4 of those builds are kind of incredible. She has the power build with injection. It now works on Baba Yaga. That was really hard to do in the 5 negative modifier run, but in regular Nightmare, it's amazing. She has her defense and dispersion build with aggressive flock. That might be the safest and easiest way to play the game, with a bunch of defense charges and cooldown. Just defense back and forth and cause everything to bleed and whittle it down. That's a very fun build, but yeah, I think one of the easiest ways to play. Her special build becomes like a connect the dots with your special. You just bite them and they disappear. Like, you feel like a vampire. You feel like you're zipping around the map and stuff. I love that build. And then her last one, it's not an attack build, it's an ultimate build. Cruel Strikes, it's tough because it's not really a build until level 5, and then it's not like a real build until level 10 and you get Mass Punishment. But Cruel Strikes with Mass Punishment is one of the most insane things this game currently has. That's probably going to be touched at some point, but I think she's A tier. It's probably because she's new, but I think I'm enjoying her a bit more than Wukong, and I feel like this is a pretty fair tier list for how I'm feeling right now. If I were to click random and it were to be any of these 6 up here, I'd be pretty happy. If it was any of these 3, I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do it. Not as excited to play it. Again, like it's tough for me to find new ways to play Scarlet. It's tough for me to find new ways to play Beowulf. Snow Queen, I don't want to play the new ways to play her. Like, they're not exciting to me. I think it's going to be a drag to play those. All these characters I'm really excited to play. All right, there's my tier list. Hopefully I think I did add all the different builds that I like to use on each character so you guys can see that. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or opinions. Again, this is just my list and mainly based off my enjoyment and what I think the character can do and my skill level with each character. So let me know if you're really, really liking a character or if you're really not liking a character. I know a lot of people might not like Aladdin. A lot of people might not like Wukong or Geppetto, think they're this high, and I could see different placements for these. All right, that's all for me. Peace.